I am Cinnamon Cooney, your art Sherpa, and today I'm so excited because I get to show you how you can paint this adorable raccoon in yellow flowers. I'm going to explain this step by step. To help me do that is my husband, John.
Hey guys.
He's going to make sure that you don't miss any of the techniques by zooming in with our cameras, making sure you can see the action, all the color mixing, anything I'm explaining. So it's really accessible for you at home. Now, today, you could do just Mr. Single Raccoon, or you could do what is this whole program, because he's one of 30 paintings that you can do. Either is fine. I want you to get your paint, get your brushes, come back and meet me at the easel right now. We're going to paint the raccoon. Today's color palette is going to be Mars Black, Naples Yellow Light, Cad Yellow Medium, Burnt Sienna, Cad Red Medium, Phthalo Green, Phthalo Blue, and Titanium White. To kick this thing off, we're going to paint our entire 8x8 surface all black. So let's start that out. Let's grab our big brush. Let's get a little paint. And let's paint our surface black. Now, it's a good idea to make sure that you paint the sides of the canvas if you're doing a deep canvas like I am, and to make sure everything is thoroughly dry before we begin the next part of step 1. So once you have your surface entirely black and it's completely dry, you can begin the gridding process. The idea of the gridding, I'm going to take a T-square and a chalk tool, is that I use a gridded reference and I create the same grid on my canvas using chalk, and that allows me to duplicate the image on my canvas accurately from my reference. Once that's in, now how this is going to work is that I'm not going to draw everything I see. I'm going to just address what I see in each individual square. So if I'm on row 1 over to square 3, all I have to do is draw just the part of the ear that I see coming up and then coming out. And I try to look for where a line enters or exits a square so that I know that I'm doing a good job of duplicating it. We'll do that through the whole piece until the image is duplicated. Okay, so once you have the contour line of the raccoon outlined, it's really all you've got to do here, because we're not going to draw out every individual flower off the grid. You could if you wanted to in step 1, John. You felt like it. I don't feel like it. I'm just gonna paint them in all loose and fair, like happy free. I'll come back in step 2 and we'll start painting in all the cuteness on this painting. So we have a lot going on here with him, and there's a couple things that we want to do. We want to make sure that it feels like he's in the plants that he's in. So we've got to put a little bit of greenery sort of distantly in the background, and then we kind of need to block him in. But let's start with a little distant greenery and cleaning up the background. So what I want you to do is I want you to take a little bit of your phthalo green on a number 8 cat's tongue mixed with burnt sienna, and you can see that gives you a dark green. And a couple of places here, we're going to just start to, as you can see, add little bits of distant greenery. And this is just so that when we paint him, and I'm going to take it really down there into the corner, and we're building things up, and you can bring it around the corner here. And you look at it, it feels like he's not floating in front of a black screen, but in fact is being discovered in a little bunch of flowers is what we're going for. Now, sometimes it can be hard to see the dark.
Yeah.
That's okay, because we're going to take a little bit of our yellow and we're going to give ourselves just a few bits of plants in the distant. These are the very distant plants, so they don't need to be light. We want deep colors, we want deep values so that things feel like they're in shadow. I like to use the edge of the brush, and you can see I'm doing little delicate loose lines. It's fun. Sometimes you can get a little white into it and maybe a little more yellow to kind of imply just a few here in the distance. Not too much though. That maybe caught a little bit more light there. I'm going to rinse out. I'm not going to worry about my chalk lines yet because, and I'll show you why, if you take a clean brush, you can really remove them. Oh, I just gotta wait for all the paint to dry and it'll be good. Let's put some more greenery, I feel. Kind of these little, just this would be, he's in front, like he's walked into it. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
I like that very much. A little bit of yellow, because these might have picked up just some light. And then as he layers in front, this will really help that kind of, just a few highlighted leaves. The other thing that we're going to put distant and kind of dim there to make things look layered is I'm going to take my yellow and I'm going to tone it with a bit of brown. See how that just knocks it back quite a lot? So I don't want it to be bright. I want it to feel yellow but not bright. In a couple of places, I'm going to take this dimmed yellow and I'm going to make sure we have a dark version. It's kind of peaking a couple places, so this will help it really bounce against maybe some of the brighter yellows that we've got. I like that. Looks really good. Believe it or not, we just got through step 2.
Wow.
So we're going to dry this, come back with a wet brush and clean it up, and come back for step 3. I've got to start kind of putting in his general values, his basic lights and darks, kind of the deepest tones that build him up, and especially his patterning. And then once I have that in, I'll come back and refine things so that they look like fur. But to initially do that, it's probably best that we get a little bit of our black into our brush and start with our most distant value, which is a mix of our burnt sienna and our wonderful Mars black. So back here, it's very dark, isn't it? Because he would be sort of all hidden and perfectly in his little bushes. Is this where he is?
Mm-hmm.
His little bushes. Yes, he's fuzzy. Yes, there's a lot going on. Most of it will be hidden by plants. His little ruff here is a very dark value. Let's go ahead and put that in. That's mostly black with a bit of chocolate brown, a bit of the burnt sienna. You can see I'm kind of working out some of these darker, deeper values that I'm going to be dealing with. And I can always come back with some lighter ones. I want to make sure that I put some of this dark value inside his ears because that will be an important place that we have it. I'm going to also take, it's still brown, but it's the darker value on his little fur. We're going to come around here and around his little nose. Kind of talk a little bit about this little, they're almost like a panda patch, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
You love that about Rocket when they call him a trash panda. John is really fond of Rocket from Guardians of the Galaxy.
I didn't realize that I had a spirit animal until I saw him.
And then you're like, this is me. This is my soul. Yeah, he definitely is very fond of him. I like to rinse out on occasion. Mostly it's just because that as you go, it's helpful. I'm going to take a little of my yellow over into this mix of brown and black. I want to make kind of an interesting neutral color for the fur. Let's test it. That's perfect. See how that's just like dark raccoon fur?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get a nice deep color that's recognizable, but also distinctly from our palette. There's a lot of, palettes for raccoon fur. I'm not saying that I'm painting the only one. You can see I'm kind of starting to talk about those furry edges where the lighter hair might be. And that's just because, yes, we're going to be coming in with, oh gosh, like a whole bunch of stuff down the middle of the nose. Now, interestingly, this does kind of a little V thing to here and to here. We'll have to come back in with some lighter colors. Bring that in around here. Just blocking in. This is when I think about this, it's just those first initial passes at the deepest values to help us get general shapes in. And that's why I'm always like painting and drawing, like it's great to draw when you paint, but the drawing that you do when you're painting is so different than what you would do, necessarily on a piece of paper. We're going to come here with this lighter value and blend these in. Even though there's quite a lot of plants in front of them, it's always worth having continuity as we go. You have lighter areas, so like maybe this is a little bit lighter to the outside. But you can always get it darker on the inside, kind of coming in, see?
Mm.
So we're just thinking about those values when we're going. What's the lightest? What's the darkest? How does it work? Maybe a little bit here. There's not that much of that there. I'm going to start getting into a little more of my white. Let's come talk a little bit about the ears. Just a smidge. There's a lot going on in the ears, but we just need to rough them in. We'll get real particular in a minute. We're just saying, oh, hey, there's some ear here, and it's about, that thick and probably furry. Okay. Loosely represented. Little hair here, probably furry. This is by no means the lightest value that he will see. These are all the darker values of his different fur colors. And sometimes with stuff, and I'm going to come down here and, we've already got black on the canvas. We don't need to come back on stuff like his nose, do we? Because it's already black. I want a little darker space around the nose here. I can be like, oh, wait, it's a little darker right here. A little more brown into it. So look at that. We've got a very dim, dim raccoon kind of sketched in. So we're going to call this step 3.
Mm-hmm.
And step 4 is going to be just refining these values and these fur textures some more. Let's kind of work out the ear, I think. And the ear, I'm going to start with my Cambridge, my number 8 Cambridge, which is a mix of hog bristle and synthetic. I'm going to get it wet, make sure I don't have too much extra water on there because they could get a little waterlogged. I'm going to start mixing out some of the colors I know I'm going to be dealing with. Like I know I'm going to have a very dark black and brown on the inside of the ear here. And you want to make sure that that's quite deep. Because later, that depth is going to be everything. Take it down some. I like this brush because it's super rough. And then as I work, it doesn't undermine all my little furry bits.
Mm-hmm.
A little yellow into that and a little brown into that. Because I want that kind of, neutral fur color. Begin to come here. And I'm going to bring this up. Kind of see how that creates that little fur area. It's a scratchy brush, so it wants to help me. Scratchy. It wants to help. Now I can even come around the outside of the ear here a bit. And do a similar little thing. If you get too light with your fur, you can always go back into your main color. You can see me doing sort of rounding the little ears out. Need to move his shadow over into his inner ear. And I might want some control about that, so bear with me. Let's get into our number 4 round because we want some control. The color that I like. Sometimes I have to like work to get the fluidity I'm looking for. So what I'm trying to do here is there's this very, yes, it's fur. You can kind of see me going, but there's this very distinctive little edge here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to feather stroke out this little brush so that I get that, as you do, because that's what you would want. Maybe even come here on this outer edge where it's a little bit light, if you can see what I mean. A little lighter out there. So that kind of rounded those little ears out. And that's important because he's got little roundy ears. We don't want to lose those little rounded moments in his adorable little ears. Now I'm going to come lightly through here with this brush and exaggerate some of these little hair motions because there is some beautiful little exaggerated hair.
I'm always shocked at how quickly fur comes together.
I love fur. I'm always like, oh good, fur. What a relief. If I need to move my dark value over, it's super easy to do. I just grab my brown, a little water, improve flow, come in and load up. And if we're to say, okay, hey, this was like working here, look, we can put that shadow back right in. Keep it very fur centric. Let's bring this little shadow to the outer edge here a little more. And that will let us pull the fur in if we need it some, but I think it's actually doing pretty good. Kind of whipping through these colors and getting through our furs. This is a nice color to even kind of lighten in and go, oh, could you be a part of our fur? And it'll be like, yeah, I could. I'm a neat color. I could definitely do that. Sometimes I have to like get a little paint off my brush because it's a little too wet. There you go. See, I bring that little fur inside the ear. Bring a little bit of that there. We layer this in and you're wondering, why are we fussing with the ears so much right now? Because everything layers on top of them. It really does. So it's important. I'm going to take a little black into this. And if you get a little of your blue into it, it kind of makes a blue-gray. Gives you another value that you might see in somebody's fur. Painting Mr. Fuzzy's ears. There we go. That's lovely. What a lovely little pair of ears. Now, the fur layer that comes in after that, I'll get back into my scratchy brush, is this sort of little dark fur that comes forward. And it's kind of an interesting mix of black and brown guard hairs. So I'm going to take a little of this brown, I'll put a little black into it. But I want it to be distinctly brown, right? I'm going to come right here. The first, just some nice little brown. So this is a kind of a feather stroke where I'm pushing the brush, the bristles are opening up, and just painting an effect that is a bit like fur. And if I come in here with my little black, I can create a very good layered right into that paint there. Isn't that awesome? And you'll want to do that on occasion. Now I know I'm going to come back with some other colors. I'm going to rinse out and we're going to finish this little area up here and we're going to call that 3 because I don't want to get so far ahead that you guys are like overwhelmed on what you're doing. So let's take a little bit of our blue and some of our black. All right, that's a pretty cool color. Now I'm going to start to work some of my white into it. I rinsed out so I could have not too much pigment in the brush. So I'm looking for a gray. It's going to really kind of stand out a couple places. Just very lightly flicking this around. Isn't that nice?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there we go. A little bit. These little sort of little guard hairs that are backlit and maybe shining, right? We don't always think of things like putting a little blue into the fur. That's the privilege of being a little artist, is we get to do these things where we want to. I get back into my black. And I blend that little mix. Layer, 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 layer. I'm not trying to paint every single hair. I am trying to paint the overall directionality of the hairs and sort of some of the personality of the hair that we might see going on. Now here's some fun, unexpected stuff that you're going to do. You're going to take your yellow. You're going to take your cad red. You're going to mix them together. It's going to give you an orange. And you're going to kind of work that into your brown. A little more red into it. It makes a really distinctive color. And then maybe a couple places here. Let's put a little of that color in. Sometimes you'll see me like try to offload my brush there. Like I'm going fast. I'm just trying to offload it. So I'm just pulling some orange in here. I feel like it's a little thick. So I'm thinning it with water. And there you go. I'm not too worried where I got it too heavy. The reason I'm not is because I can come back so easily with, you know, my black or any of my colors that I've had as I've been going and blend it all together. But what I want to give is the effect of sunlight and reflection and sheen and little elements on Mr. Fuzzy Pants' little face. Look, I just take my brush, it's super dirty, but I get right into the white. Look at that. Now, when this is done, he's going to look so furry. And then you're going to look at your cat and everything around your house and you're going to go, how many colors is in your fur?
Mm-hmm.
So many colors. And that's what I want you to do is just play with this. What you want to catch is the value, even though he's going to be quite colorful and very painterly. Let's call that 3, because that was a lot we did there.
Yeah.
Just getting our little ears and our back kind of darker fur going. So you can come back forward. We're going to continue to progressively move forward through Mr. Fuzzy Pants Raccoon. So we're going to continue to come through the layers of his body, layering the fur forward. I'm going to get back into my very fun scruffy brush. I'm going to make sure I have the colors out that I need. I'm running a little low on my Mars black. I'm going to load that up. All right, get a little brown into it. I guess I'm running a little low on my brown too. I'm going to have to load both of those back up. So,
That happens.
It's just, you know, every painting will have like a color that you use just more of it, and you'll be like, oh, I got a lot more of this going on. Because I'm going to want to come through here, making sure that his nose is started to talk about a bit. Let's put some of that blue-gray that we have on there. Look at that. We'll just scratch that right there. Scratch, 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 scratch. a good scruffy brush.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can't get too busy in here because guess what? I have to do this curve right here. I've got to paint this part in first, but to paint this part in first, I've got to paint in that light little fur area. Go figure. So let's do an interesting thing. Let's get a little of our phthalo blue and burnt sienna. When it's mixed more brown than blue, it makes a very interesting gray. We have several grays and neutral tones that we're going to be playing with here. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Let's lighten this right here. That's a very good lightning. I'm going to kind of get that in there. I'm going to grab some of my yellow and some of my brown. A little more brown. And I get that very neutral cream color. All right, that's what we're trying for, is a cream color. And I need it to be on a dry brush, and I need it to be a light value. So do you, by the way. It's not just me, it's both of us. Isn't that lovely? That needs to kind of go up his head too and down. I got to bring that up a little bit. They're kind of like they go up some, if that makes sense. There we go. Like he's got a little surprised. He's feeling a little surprised.
Mm-hmm.
There, so nice. Rinse out. Now through here, it's definitely that deep brown and black. So back into my deep brown and black. It does have a few reflection hairs we're going to get in. But I just want to make sure that that's deeply those values. And come up the fur. And you can see now how the layering helps.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that layering help. Couldn't do it unless those furs were layered the way that they are. That's what I've got to continue.
What's that?
My kind of brownish, lighter side fur. Getting kind of a value of that. This comes around the side of his little face. We have it doing the same over here, but the honest truth is it gets so dark over there.
Mm-hmm.
As it comes around, it kind of vanishes. It does the same thing, it's just more in shadow. I've got to find a way to paint it, but somehow, in value sense, dim it down a bit. And it's going to be a lot behind, things like flowers. It's nice at this stage, if you can, to go through and maybe do some of that individual hair play. You got some green in there. I don't even care. And then now you can kind of see why you might have wanted those distant flowers in the background when you put them in.
Yeah.
Whether you're painting a raccoon today or a landscape, sometimes certain things are just intrinsically true. And you can see I'm just on the toe. And my whole goal with this is just to kind of create these little flyaways. I don't even know how to explain this, but there's little flyaways that happen that are really, isn't he cute
They
already?
really are great.
Just, I'm not saying that you would walk out to your house in Tahoe and be like, woohoo, Raccoon is in my trash, but
It's good to see them.
on occasion it isn't it? And I'm just bending that in. I don't want it to go too far past anything because it's a great time to take the black paint with your brown and layer this way. Because we've already done a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not every hair, just the important ones that we're painting. He's going to be so cute when all the flowers are around him.
Oh, yeah.
Now, in him, around him, are little reflections of fur. So we're going to take our blue and some of our black together and a little bit of white. We do want it to be kind of dark. But this is how we're going to paint these reflections. I'm going to come in here and just talk a little bit about these little. There is, when you look at it too, there's hair just has so many interesting little colors to it, and it reflects the light of what's around it. So if you can play with those things, just some, and if you're trying to say, oh, hey, we've got a few little hairs that are reflecting.
Mm-hmm.
They're dark, they're dim, right? But they matter to us. And I can take this and my black, it kind of makes like a gray. And come in and talk a little bit about his little raccoon eyes. Who doesn't love a few little raccoon eyes? Get my black, black, black. It's a good time to like thin out any of your lines that you need to thin out. You can come back and even blend in any of that. Minimize anything that you want to minimize. Everything around his eyes will be minimal. Right? You see just a few reflections. You don't see everything. So we're just trying to make sure we have that. My little blue here. I'm going to do an interesting thing. Right here in the eye, I'm going to add that little gray blue reflection. It's subtle, but it will make a difference later. It's just a value up from what's around it. Get a little bit of weight. Add some right there. I'll put some right here. You see, I'm just putting in small reflections. Look at that. We just see his eyes almost from just the lighting that's happening on them. They're very buried into his fur. So you wouldn't see everything going on. You wouldn't necessarily, and you'll see me wiping this out because I don't want to have too much water on there. I'm going to call, we're going to kind of maybe end here because there's a lot happening. if that makes sense. But we want to just put in a small amount. Oh, look, they're like little shining eyes in the fur.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's say that we'll stop here and we'll come back and continue on. So for the next step, we're going to kind of continue doing what we're doing, but we've got to keep building up the hair. I'm going to get back into my scruffy brush because it's just super effective initially. Like there's some areas where I've got to get a little refinement around it, but for right now, I'm going to get into that. I'm going to come in and maybe extend a bit more of my fur color. Let's get into our orange again. It was fun with our brown. And we can make that maybe it's a little bit interesting. Tone it with some black. Different little beigey fur colors, right? They're always fun. Ooh, let's get some of the Naples yellow. There we go. Look at that. I like to find different little fur values. They're very taupey and I'm gonna bring this around here. Very gently. Some of this, I can always pull this into that. You can see how I pull those colors together. So the thing is, whatever color I'm making, I can always move around. Look, add it places so that it has a more organic feel. That layering of the fur never hurts us. We don't run the bulls, we layer the fur. But we don't run the bulls. We layer the fur. And again, I'm doing that pushing, feathering stroke we talk about. If I paint too far into his nose, I can always come back with the darker fur. I will have to kind of do something about this over here to make it darker, but right now, let's get into our black. And we can kind of maybe darken it here. I just did it with the blue. It's kind of interesting. I like it. Blue! Yeah. Sometimes certain values will kind of work on something. In fact, I like that so much. I'm going to get this going again and get a little bit of this blue in it because I really liked it. And here on this lower side, I'm going to kind of add this cooling blue into the fur. You love that?
Yeah.
I like that too. Because I've got to create a nice deep shadow. Even though this is lighter fur, I need it to be darker. Oh, good. Getting some brown into my brush. And a little black as you do. And you can kind of see how the layering of fur might happen.
Mm.
It's okay to bring this stuff down below where his nose starts so that you can bring the nose back. It isn't going to hurt anybody. Because the nose is just a lot of reflection, is how the nose, much like the eye, the nose really is revealed to us via the reflection it has. I'm going to bring this around, like this nose shape. And it's okay to kind of come down here and get dark because a lot of this is quite dark. And this, I'm going to continue to pull into my darker area, kind of continue to pull this into shadow a bit. I mean, hard to do And maybe you're trying to say, oh, this is more of a this than a this. It can be a hard thing to do. We don't really see what's happening kind of under the nose because, again, it's very dark on that part of his face. What do? I get a little of my white, a little of my blue, black. It makes that same reflection that we had in the eye almost. To start, let's put maybe a reflection at the top of the nose right there. Another little reflection. And I'm tapping the brush up and down. That's sometimes how I get that kind of control that I'm looking to do. A little more white on there. Have a little highlighter. So it does that. See how that does? And it creates the top of his little nosy nose. He has a little nosy nose. And you like his little nosy nose. Do you like his nose, John?
I love it.
Okay, I'm going to bring a little kind of dark value back here that kind of comes back off the nose. And again, I want to come down here. There's this sort of like, to help the fur that's down here, the dark fur that's down here show, I've got to make sure I've got a dark lip that I can come off of. I want to now get into my lighter colors. So I've got to refine some of the fur. I'm getting my Naples yellow if I want. Maybe let's put a little highlight in there, kind of coming down the center. Oh, how's his little face looking?
Really good.
It's a lot we have going on. A lot. I'm gonna say let's pause here, call this a step, and then come back and continue to refine the last little bits on the raccoon.
Okay.
Okay. So we're continuing forward. We're going to kind of resolve some fur here in these little bits that we see. We may want to come in, like if you come grab your number 4 round and get some white just really on the edge of your brush. It can be a good idea to add a few little resolving highlights on the eyes if you're like, oh, there's a little more of this here, or one of the colors which I'm like seeing some more of. Just looking at it and going, does it need more? Does it need less? What does it need? Always good, always fun. Yeah?
Yeah. I
Now,
love this guy. He's turned out great.
he's just gorgeous, right? I'm going to come back. Again, a little black, a little blue, because this is quite dark under here. My number 8 Cambridge, just to make sure that there's some, before I get into the next bit. I'm going to have to kind of layer differently than you might expect. Let's get a little of our white into our brush. That's nice. Oh, a little Naples yellow, because that's fun. And a little brown. Getting these weird little brown fur colors that we have. I'm just brushing some light. And little gar furs and things there. These furs are... And you can see they're grabbing some of the gray, which I really like. So as we go back, we can get more into the brown and black. I'm not really rinsing my brush out, if you're noticing. I want a little red. Still not rinsing. A little yellow. Makes that interesting little reflection there. Put some of that here. Isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm.
Be playful, pulling those through each other. I might grab some of these. This is a very interesting area because the fur kind of comes down like this.
I'm loving this. You know what's exciting about this?
What?
How many little raccoons there's going to be out there in the world next.
There'll be so many raccoons out in the world doing little raccoon things.
My trash panda army shall unite.
They'll do something. You can see how we've pulled this little shagginess together. I like his shagginess. Go ahead and get some blue and white because it pleases me. Little less in focus here. These are under the flowers. We want to know that it's there, but it's not as focal as what's happening here. All right, so I've got this. And I'll have to refine it, but I want to kind of pull that there. And came back with some black. I'm kind of trimming that up, you can see. It's got this interesting little chin happening that I've got to imply. Where the dark hairs are. Little black, little blue. You see him come under the chin and blending these out. Right? Like, even if we know, oh yeah, there's a little bit of that kind of coming around here, it still needs to be dark enough or feels a little more in shadow. Now I feel like to make this look right, I've got to grab a little of my blue and my black and a smidge of white. Come here and kind of imply this dark bit of fur that might be coming forward. Go white into that. If I need to get a little of my Naples yellow. You see I'm just sort of hand pulling that feather stroke down. Now to get this right, because right now he's got a bit of an underbite, I'm going to have to come into my dark value. It comes over just a little bit this way. It does come a little bit that way. It's sort of hidden underneath. Say probably like just trying to get the little hidden fur there is maybe one of the more challenging bits, and then coming back here and making sure it doesn't look like a very intense little crazy smile. They do. They do. You got to find the balance in it though when you're doing them. So you can see I'm just trying to pull darker and darker values so that we're seeing that these shapes are there, but that they're, there we go, kind of more in shadow, getting into my white there. There we go. And then every once in a while you just take a look at them and you're like, oh, hey, how's that going? Oops. Give him a news booger. If ever you give him something you don't like, before it's dry, you can always come back and kind of clean it up like that.
Hmm.
I'm going to do a few little of my fun guard hairs. Maybe Naples yellow. Could use any, just white if you wanted. I just like it. These are arabesque or curvilinear little strokes. They kind of look like S-curve strokes. They have little elements. The arabesque would be more if I got a little calligraphy with them, but we're just trying to say, hey, this is here's some light defining hairs. Just a few individuals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every hair. Few little individual fellows might be whimsical and interesting, and you can always come back with your scruffy brush and blend things in. See how we're doing?
Mm-hmm.
Anything gets out of hand, just blend it in. I would say as soon as I get this little black brown mix through there, I'm going to call that sort of resolved. I like where we're at right there. He feels playful. He feels arty. I like him. We're going to come back and I'm going to show you how to put the flowers in.
All right.
All right. So we're going to start putting the foliage around him that kind of layers him in and creates the space that he's about. I'm going to get my cat's tongue out again and my green. I do think it's a good idea to initially work some of the burnt sienna into it before I put my cad yellow in there. Even for my darker colors, dip in the water, make sure it's kind of nice. And I'm going to begin to, on the toe of the brush, add another layer. Maybe is starting to encroach on his space. I think it's nice to kind of be playful with it. And also we've got to build up the layers. So some of this will be dark, some will be light. We want to just make sure that you can bring these around the side. You can see these are just little touch leaves, touchable leaves. Touching here and there. Hopefully he's happy. I like to make some little lines that those are kind of feel like stems.
Hmm.
But you can see now this has started to pull him into that. Now as we go forward, I can get a little bit of my cad yellow into it. And we start talking about maybe some lighter bits. Nice little bit on the tip of the brush. See? Little stem marks. I'm trying to paint each individual stem. I'm just painting the feeling of the stem. Sometimes it'd be super tempting to paint everything.
Hmm.
Under his chin, I might want these to be a little bit darker, just because they are. A little more phthalo green. And you'll notice the more phthalo green it is, the more it will kind of pop. Because the phthalo pigment is so saturated
Mm-hmm.
and really worked. I'm going to rinse out. Still more levels and layers, I must tell you. A lot more yellow into my green mix. And take a little bit of this there. And let's start saying, oh, hey, maybe there's some focal leaves. white into it. Kind of caught some sunlight there. So sometimes what you'll see me trying to do is just create the movement of the foliage where these lines come through, and we break up some of that feeling. A lot more of the yellow and quite a bit more of the white. Capturing a few of these values on these little leaves as they come through. And they look really cute. He looks like he's popping out of something, doesn't he?
Yeah, it does.
Pull some of the light stem work. You need to get back into a darker color. Guess what? You just get back. Look how easily one gets back into a darker color. I'm going to rinse out. I'm going to get a little more of my sienna and cad yellow, but still darker. And just make sure that this is, well, thought in front of him. Now, that's pretty good. The next bit is the funnest bit, which is the flowers. Who's not excited about flowers? So, let's let him dry, and we're going to come back, and we're going to finish him up with some flowers.
All right.
You know what I think might be really delightful, John?
Hmm.
Before we put the little flowers in, I think a little bit of light whiskering kind of coming around here
Okay.
might be really delightful. Now, I'm going to treat myself to my #1 monogram liner, because that will definitely make me happy. I'm going to get a little of my yellow and my red. It's kind of in that orange.
Yep.
It should really stand out. I'm going to see how that works, because I think that would be really fun. So sometimes those little touches are really lovely. And again, it's not about every detail. It's about the details that speak to you. And I love their little whisker sets. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Get a little more yellow and white. Sometimes when they have little whiskers, you don't even see all of everything on it. It reflects just some here and there. If that makes sense. Now, if you don't have a detail brush, this might be not your favorite thing to take on, because it's definitely helped by having a detail brush. Oh, I kind of like that. That works for me. That's just personally, I feel like raccoons have whiskers. They're kind of noticeable little whiskers.
Yeah.
They have also these very long, shiny hair. I just think it's a necessary, interesting thing to think about when you're doing that. Let's start putting in some beautiful yellow flowers. Now, the yellow flowers, we're going to start with a little bit of red into our yellow. So it's not orange, but it's definitely got a bit of the yellow orange. And I'd like to pull my brush in and kind of create some shapes. Sometimes I think when we think of flowers, we sometimes feel like, oh, well, flowers are not my friend. And we forget that they have gesture, just like everything else. And if you can capture that gesture, you can catch it. think it's nice to start with some big focal ones. You can kind of see what I'm doing is I pull it around and I'm just grabbing these little shapes. And it's through what we're going to do, with the values and things that will help us define the little flowers that we're looking at. And the other thing to remember is like sometimes wildflowers, they're not tidy in their petals. Some of their petals get bent weird ways. And we got to remember as artists that we can paint those things. Thinking about these weird little moments. You can always come around and give some of that to the side. I think it's good also to touch little bits. Now, I'm going to rinse out. That's lovely.
Hmm.
But we need highlights. We need some of these petals to catch the light and some of the petals to be brighter. So I'm going to grab a little bit of my cad yellow and some of, interestingly enough, my Naples yellow. If in a little white, I want some bright highlights. Not on every petal, some of the petals. Maybe a little more cad yellow and just some bright highlights. So that when we go around, what we're seeing is something caught the sun. And some of them didn't. Layering it up. Loose. Just the gesture of the flower, just the motion. And we don't necessarily think of things that feel static in that moment as having motion. But plants have a lot of motion. They have emotion, they have motion, they got a lot going on. That's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
But we have more. A little yellow out, a lot more white, a lot more. I want some bright highlights. I need it to feel yellow, but just like even lighter than the yellow we put out. See, I'm just picking a couple of places where perhaps the sunlight really caught it. Little bits of, oh, I'm in the light. Now the centers, we'll take a little bit of our yellow and red and some of our brown perhaps. Touch them. They're like little bits. Just tap up and down, kind of create a little button shape. Roundish. Like in there maybe. Not all of it showing. So, okay, cool. Sure that this has got. I'm going to want to bring some of my highlighted values to the flower. Then I'm going to grab some of my white. Now just little touches. You got to take that in for a second, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Look at it and go, am I happy? I can always grab, it's really interesting. I can always get a little bit of my Tight Knit yellow for an interesting contrast as well, you can see. Just touch where you feel like, oh, I need some more pigment. Grabbing some of that pure yellow. Finding those bright moments where they might possibly be happening. And it's really just down to, what do I want there? What do I want here? I want to kind of improve the buttoning of some of these I can. Okay, I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Improve it. Just take it in. Just be like, does it feel like he has found himself in some very yellow little flowers? You see a little of that reflected a bit in his fur and around, which is kind of lovely. He's got these great whiskers. I think we're ready to sign him, babe.
Yeah, I think it turned out pretty fantastic.
I'm pretty happy. Let's get our little signature brush that we also whiskered with. And the paint, get it on the tip of the brush, and maybe I'll come right here and give that a little sign. Oh, I made it. Yes, it was
Oh,
me.
he turned out great.
He did. I'm super pleased with him. That was a delightful painting to do. I really loved him as he came together. Everything about this was sort of just a lot of fun to paint, even though the techniques were great to learn, even though all this was just really great to put into your paint box. Just creating him was a lot of fun. Now, to entice you, I would like to tell you that tomorrow we're going to be painting these gorgeous koi fish with stones, and there's going to be like sparkling light on it. So if you'd like to know how to paint those, come back tomorrow. Be good to yourself. Be good to each other. And I want to see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.